life's a pain, but you got me. Yeah, life's a pain, but I got you.
Hey, what's up, parasites and fellow clones? We are here today with Randy, our friend Venom Unleashed, to talk about Chasm 3 and 4 and wrap out this miniseries that you and I have been so excited for months leading up to its release. And now that it's done, it finished a couple weeks ago, we can talk about its conclusion. So, dude, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate you making the time.
Of course, as always. Always look forward to this.
Awesome, brother. And also, thank you, too, real quickly. Behind the scenes, you sent me for Blue a really cool comic book. Now, we haven't even opened it yet. The box it came in that you shipped it in, I just wrapped it and I put it over with our stuff. So I can't wait for him to check that out and see what it is. But I know what it is because you told me. I'm so excited because I was looking through his stuff. You asked me if he had it, and I looked through and I did not see that issue. So he's gonna flip out. I promise you.
Well, like I said, I wanted to keep it a surprise, but yeah, it's an exclusive. So yeah.
Well, it's a surprise from him. Trust me. I deleted your text message and everything, so I'm like, he ain't gonna find this at all. Yeah, thank you so much. And then I was able to luckily send you a little present for Christmas, so that should be there hopefully any day now. So let me know whenever you see it. So Chasm number 3. We're going to talk about 3 first, obviously, then 4. This series is written by Steve Fox, and Andrea Baccardo is the artist on it. And let's go ahead and dive in, man, because I know we're going to have some personal thoughts that are going to come out of us about, writing, editorial, art, probably. I don't know. Like we're going to cover this because you and I, we said this behind the scenes too. Like I've met other people that are hardcore Ben fans, hardcore Kane fans. Only you for hardcore Hallows Eve fan, by the way. I think you're the only one I know. But that passion, like I've talked to other people who like these characters, but you and I really like them on a level that I don't find often. And that's why I love having you on the show. And even though the Venom vlog will end, if they keep telling Chasm and Kane stories, I will find a way for us on something, even if we come up with a new show that we come back and talk about these guys and continue following their adventures. So just wanted to get that out there before we dive in. So Chasm number 3, go ahead and hit me with kind of the intro with, Chasm's chasing Hallows Eve. He's mind possessed by Druid. Like, hit me with your thoughts on that opening.
Yeah. I mean, he's chased her through the sewers.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell that he's mind controlled just by the way he looks, and she's all freaking out and everything, So, I thought this was pretty cool how she uses her ghost mask.
Yeah.
And she literally ghosts him. Literally. But yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. You never seen her use that one before.
No, I was wondering because she pulls the mask out and then he knocks it out of her hand. And I'm like, what is that? What is that thing? It's like a sad face. I'm like,
yeah.
What is it? What is she holding? And then, so as he's monologuing, because Druid is mind controlling him, so Druid's kind of monologuing in a way. She has a moment to grab it real quick and put it on. And then, yeah, she just phases into a ghost and goes through the wall. And I'm like, okay, that was kind of cool. I thought that was fun and kind of cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. I mean, the dialogue still is not winning me over. I think Steve Fox is not a terrible writer, in my personal opinion, by any means, but I am critical of how dumbed down the dialogue feels at times, where they just basically, people are just saying how they feel too many times in a row. So it's like, she's like, baby, no, please. And he's like, don't baby, no, please me. And she's like, but baby, and he's like, yes, babe, I'm coming for you. And I'm just like, oh God, it could use a little work, but I'm paraphrasing. That's not the actual dialogue, but it sounds like that to me when I'm reading it. So,
dude, it's actually like that. It said,
no, I know it is kind of like that.
How many times do they say babe and baby per page, man?
I mean, yeah, you could, if you had a drinking game with it, you would be passed out halfway through the book. There's, and he says it back to her sarcastically. And then bro is another one. When Chasm starts calling Kane bro. And I'm like, wait a minute. I thought Chasm doesn't even have his memories. How does he know who Kane is? Like, I know it's like I don't know. I will get into that. But this opening though, I did like, and I just for that moment with Hallows Eve, I was like, all right, that was cool. She got a ghost mask I didn't know about, and that was pretty neat. But then you get like 4 pages of Druig kind of going through Ben's mind, and although I hate almost every ounce of dialogue he's saying, I actually really like the visuals on these pages because they show like different incarnations of Ben Riley.
Dude.
Like throughout the
Oh,
year. I mean, that one page is amazing. You get all of them. You get the Jackal version, the hooded version,
oh,
the Spider Carnage version. You get them all.
yeah. I remember when the teaser had come out. I had sent it to you. It
Yeah,
was like and I seen that, and that was so cool. That was such a big plus for me.
yeah.
Even though I mean this series wasn't the greatest, but
Um,
as I say, I'm just happy that it exists.
yeah. I mean, yeah. My opinion on that's changed a little bit now, but I still agree with you though. It's like I mean,
Yeah,
hey, it's Ben and Kane, and I can't be. I can dislike it, but I can't hate it for some
yeah.
reason.
But
Yeah,
yeah, that part I love that. I love seeing all those different incarnations of him. That was great.
it's chef's kiss to Andrea, the artist, because having all that in there, and I'm sure Steve maybe wrote that in there too, but just it was pulled off well. I thought it was a cool shot, and there was the second page to it actually has this one where Druig is walking, and you just see all these Bens like clawing over each other in the background, and I thought that was cool too because the Scarlet
Yeah,
Spider one was like right in the front. So I mean, yeah, there was some cool things in there. So that little thing where he pops open Ben's brain and there's a staircase and he walks in it. I'm like, this is kind of neat. I would actually like to see Andrea do something with Mysterio at some point. I think that artist would probably have a lot of fun with those visuals as well.
oh yeah,
Um, and I think Druig is the one because they're from the Eternals. I believe that's the one Barry Koenig or however pronounce his last name. I think he plays Druig in the film. Um, I think. So I think there is an MCU version of this Druid guy. I believe it's the same character. I could be mistaken, but really the money shot in this, money shots plural. After you get to that moment there where you're going through his mind, is that he maintains control of Ben long enough to where we actually get a few pages of Ben and Kane fighting each other.
right,
Right in the middle of this book, with Janine, Hallows Eve, kind of ghosting in and out and trying to. She doesn't like Kane at first, but then she's kind of like, oh, he's not wrong in this case. Maybe I do want to help him and help Ben. And I thought that was okay too. I don't know, what were your thoughts? I mean, because they really do fight, not like as intensely as they do in issue 4, but I thought this was still a good fight in the sewer with the two.
yeah. Okay, so like when she first sees Kane,
Mhm.
it's like she knows who he is, but
Right.
he literally had to take off his mask and
Right.
hey, it's me. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah. But the last time she saw him was before she went to jail, I think, and he was the big Kane with the beard, like looked like Rob Zombie on steroids.
yeah,
Back in that miniseries from way back in the Clone Saga.
yeah,
So yeah, so she's not a fan of Kane at all. Like,
right.
yeah.
But one thing we didn't go over is when she first runs into Kane,
Mm.
she puts on her ninja mask.
That's right. That's the mask she had on. You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and is fighting him as a ninja.
Yeah, that's true. She was, which is how she was able to go toe to toe with him. Because you're like, all right, I know she's new, she's got powers and stuff, but there's no way she's going to be as experienced as a roided up clone Spider-Man like Kane.
Right,
But then she knows that, so she puts that mask on immediately,
right.
and you're like, oh, okay, all right, well, she brought her A game, that's for sure in this issue, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
so that's two new masks that I didn't know she had.
Yeah, I know. And she's kind of, and with the ninja one, she's kind of going outside of the trope of Halloween, kind of, but still staying in it because Halloween kid masks there
Yeah,
is ninja masks and stuff. So
yeah.
yeah, it's kind of cool. She does a mask we'll talk about in issue 4 where it changes her size and everything.
Oh yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll get into that, but yeah, I thought this fight was cool. And then like in the background, you kind of have Mole Man who was sent off by Druig in the last issue. He has his monsters and his moloids, and the vermin, and they're all kind of like launching this big attack on New York, as like the main background thing that's building up. So Kane is like trying to get through to Ben, trying to help him. So is Hallows Eve, so they can deal with the bigger issue of the city being invaded, and also the other issue of who is mind controlling Ben. So there is a lot being juggled here in this issue.
Right. So when this is going on, it's not the first time that she does it, but she puts on her Frankenstein mask.
Yeah, she does. That's right. Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, because he's like he's not only going after Ben or Kane, but he's going after her as well again, because Druig is back in his head again.
That's right. Yeah, Druig is still in his mind. He's like, because Ben dips in and out, like you said briefly there, but he goes to attack Kane, and then he turns and sees Hallows Eve, and he goes and attacks her. So to protect herself, she was like, well, all right, the ninja mask got knocked off or whatever, so she puts on that Frankenstein mask so she can get strong and take any blow that comes at her. Yeah, she goes full survivalist in this issue, which was kind of neat. It's kind of neat to see her be on the defense with her powers throughout this whole issue, as opposed to being the one leading an attack. She's just like, I'm just trying to survive against these two guys that can probably kill me really easily.
Yeah. So, but everyone watching the video, we're not really going too much over what they're saying because the writing isn't that great.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you that there was babe was used, bro was used, like there's an extensive amount. Druig saying something and then Ben repeating it, and then vice versa sometimes. Yeah. So it's the same bad dialogue twice sometimes. It's not great.
I'm pretty much, I took my notes too, and I'm pretty much just kind of going over, like what I've seen, and like the bigger things, but the writing wasn't too great there,
It's not. And as we'll still talk about issue 3, but between issues 3 and 4, I want to get into something you mentioned before we started recording, which is the like how these characters are written, versus like what we like and what's being delivered. So we'll get there. But is there anything up until this point, because we're getting into the final pages of issue 3, is there anything up until this point that we missed that we need to go over? Because that's what we do on these ones, folks. Like, I know some of you are watching, like, we're kind of reviewing it, but we're also going beat by beat. Like, it's kind of an in-depth breakdown of the book, because that's how much we love these characters. Like, we want to go through and explain, like, all right, here's what's happening in the book, and here's why we like it, dislike it, or why it fits the character, why it doesn't fit the character.
Okay, so when this is happening, Ben is able to break free from Eve while she's Frankenstein.
Yes.
And during this, she's trying to talk him out of it, and he's able to break free of Druig's control.
Right, with his willpower. That's right.
So he's able to do that, and for this brief moment, he's able to catch a glimpse of this Druig. He doesn't know who he is, but he knows that he is an Eternal.
Right.
But he catches just a slight glimpse.
Yeah, he gets a shot of him in his costume and stuff, and he's like, okay, this guy is dressed like an Eternal, and I know who those guys are. He goes, so we just got to find out which one he is and where he is. Right. And he's like, and I'm going to try to rely on my Chasm sense, even though he's still trying to figure out a name for that. But he's like, we're going to try to find him. And Kane's like, yeah, dude, but I'm glad you're broken free, but look at the city. It's being attacked by Mole Man and the Moloids, and Mole Man has like a giant, creature, like a kaiju that he's, kind of directing around, smashing buildings. And Chasm is like, I don't care that he's destroying the city. Like, let the superheroes figure that out. He's like, I need to go find Druig and like snap his neck, Yeah. And so the issue kind of ends with that happening, where Kane's like, we got to help people. And he goes over and he starts helping people out. And he's like, Ben, come on. And Ben's like, no, we're going to go find Druig and kill him, or, beat him up or whatever. And Hallows Eve is kind of in the middle. So,
right.
Yeah, it was kind of neat.
That was interesting. Like, she was kind of teeter-totter in there. She was like, shouldn't we help,
Yeah, there's a part of Janine that may not have fully given up on people, even though she says she has. but she sees Kane jump into action heroically. And I think that surprises her, one, because that's not the Kane she knew back when she met him. But also, two, there's something about watching people doing something heroic that does make you feel a certain way, makes you want to help, and I think she gets a catch of that. And I kind of like that. I was like, it adds a little bit of depth to her character that I was hoping would be there, and I thought that was neat. So that's kind of how the issue ends, where you're like, she's kind of like I think, I don't know, maybe we should stay with Kane, and I like that. So yeah, it was cool, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Would you think of that kind of cliffhanger there?
I thought it was pretty good. That there's a little bit of character building there,
Yeah.
Saying that she's not completely lost, so she's a damn cool character, and I mean there could be a lot done with her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you were telling me about that because there was that miniseries or one shot or whatever they released. I think Erica Schultz wrote it, and you were telling me about some of the stuff that happened in there. So I will pick that up on Comixology. I think they're going to be doing another sale here on Kindle Comics soon. So I'll look for that miniseries, and I'll probably pick it up because, it sounds cool. And Janine, I always thought was a neat character back in that original miniseries, and I really loved when they brought her back during Beyond. And it's been 50-50 with her, but I don't mind that they gave her a costume. I feel like if you're going to put someone as a love interest with Ben Reilly, and he's kind of like not a hero, kind of anti-hero, kind of dark hero, you're going to need someone who can defend themselves because he's going to be in a lot of crosshairs, at this point. So, yeah.
I do have to say something, though.
Please.
Like right now, like how Chasm is,
mm-hmm.
You would consider him an anti-hero, but he will not go out of his way to help nobody. But
that's what I mean, yeah.
But if you go way back to Lethal Protector Venom,
yeah,
here he was, hated Spider-Man, but my God, he would help somebody else.
He'd help anybody else. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I guess there's also a good argument for characters like Punisher is an anti-hero. And I don't know, it's 50-50 depending on who's writing the comic. But I think Punisher still would help an innocent person. Frank is caught up in his war for sure. But I feel like if he saw an innocent person that needs help, I mean, there's so many examples where he goes out of his way to help people. So again, like you said, that makes him even more heroic in a way than Chasm. So that's why, Chasm, I don't know if anti-hero fits or just dark hero or villain. Maybe he's just straight up a villain right now, and he's finding his way, or he's nothing. Maybe he's just like kind of how the character is. He's this blank slate that they're putting. It's like a Lego playmat, and you're adding the blocks onto it, And so he hasn't really figured out what he is yet, in a way.
See that there's something we had talked about before.
Yeah.
There's a couple issues during the Nick Spencer run. It was like 47 to 50 or so, Amazing Spider-Man, where Chasm is in there. And that's when Spider-Man is bad. He's like the Spider Goblin or whatever.
Right.
And
Chasm, that's not Nick Spencer's run.
Yeah, it is.
No, that's the current run. That's Zeb Wells.
Zeb Wells. Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, that's all right.
Zeb Wells. So anyway, Chasm is doing everything in his power to help Peter.
Yeah.
So what the hell?
What's crazy about that is the same editor who did that book is the same editor on this book.
What the hell?
So this is one of those instances where I'm like, well, I don't know if some of the writing is dictated by editorial in this, because I think editorial, I don't know. Did Zeb Wells write Ben a different way going against editorial? And is this what Nick Lowe would prefer Ben to be written as in this miniseries, or what? Or did he just say, "Hey, I like this idea, cool," and then he heard Steve Fox's idea, he's like, "Yeah, that's cool too, go for it," And I don't know. Editor is a weird. It's not always what people think it is. As a comic book editor, there's a lot of you have a lot of jobs in that title nowadays. There was a time where editor is a little bit more straightforward of what you had to do and like what your involvement was, but it's a lot different nowadays. Like it's handled differently, and it's not just like any job, office job. You do more than one thing for that title. So like, so it's hard to really kind of, without knowing what, without being a fly on the wall and seeing firsthand what he had an involvement with. It is funny though, just seeing his name on these two books and seeing two completely different Ben Rileys with different motivations, all still being after Dark Web with his No Memories. So it's just it is a little, yeah, for sure.
like I read this and I went back to that in my mind. I was like, what the hell happened here?
Yeah, because I can't find a story reason in here why Ben is acting the way he's acting. I mean, when Druig is taking it over his mind, obviously I understand why he's doing those actions.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but that's probably the most clear-cut Ben is being written in all four of these issues, is when he's mind controlled. When he's not mind controlled, he seems all over the place. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, he's like overly romantic at times with Janine, but then at the same time, he's kind of corny on other times. He's like serious here, corny there. And I'm like, I get that that's probably the Peter Parker side of him. But again, if he doesn't have his memories to an extent, like, how is he acting? Like, he's just all over the place. And maybe, like I said, maybe that's how they look at him, as the base plate of a Lego, and you're building on top of him. So he's figuring out who he is, maybe, and figuring out what's corny, what's cheesy, what's serious. Like, if that's the case, I understand, but he comes across as very inconsistent in this book, and in a lot of ways, until he's mind controlled by Druig. Then I'm like, oh, I understand what he's doing. Right. But the other times I'm kind of like, I get what he's doing. I understand. I'm not, like it's not like super written in a way to where I can't comprehend his motivations or actions, but they just seem just random versus when he's controlled. So I don't know. I mean, but let's talk about that for a minute before we get into issue 4. Is like obviously Ben, you and I know him as a real hero, right? Like Ben Reilly, it was, and this was intentional during the Clone Saga too, but because there was always the plan to replace Peter with him in the beginning, right? So they wrote him with less flaws than Peter. And then Peter had increasing flaws all the way up to the point where he hit Mary Jane Watson across the face. Like, they really wrote Peter to where you almost weren't liking him that much in the Clone Saga, so that you would be okay with the switch with Ben. And then when they did it, everyone lost their mind and was like, wait a minute, you mean the last 20 years has meant nothing? And it's like, and then it's funny that 10 years, 12 years after that, they would do One More Day and do the same thing and erase all the history again. So, but Ben, we know him as a hero. We understand, Marvel, that you are going a different path with him, that ever since Dan Slott, who, as far as I know, is not a fan of Ben Reilly, but felt pressured by fans to bring him back, and has this attitude where he's like, okay, well, if people are going to bug me to bring him back, I will, but I'm going to do it my way. And he brought him back unheroically, and as the worst thing you could bring him back as, which is the Jackal. Now I understand some people go, oh, but that's what they did with Jason Todd. He came back and he donned the red hood. I'm like, yeah, he donned Red Hood, not Joker. He didn't come back and become Joker. He came back as Red Hood. So it'd be different, if Ben came back and was like a scientist trying to solve something, but him being the Jackal was too far, I feel. And then ever since then, he's been just this bouncy ball that they just throw around the room, and just whatever crud or piece of gum or whatever he picks up on the way, they let stay on him. So I don't know before we get into Kane, because I want to talk about both. What are some of your favorite attributes of Ben Reilly that you loved before, and that they try to bring back a little bit and beyond, and now you're just not seeing anymore?
He was always, when he was a hero, I mean, he was like top notch. He was to me, I felt he was better than Peter, honestly.
I mean, he was written to be, so yeah, I get it.
But I mean, I love the character.
Mm-hmm.
I love the look, the personality, the whole thing. You know, I mean, I'm talking everything, including the suit, just everything.
I love that hoodie, that blue
Dude,
torn. It's so
I
good.
mean, every suit that he wore,
I
you know,
know.
dude, dude. But
Guy's got style.
yeah, yeah.
Even his
But
Chasm costume. I don't like the character, but that costume's awesome.
yeah, oh, dude,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I love those colors, dude.
I
Oh my
do. Me
god.
too. Me
Mm.
too.
But yeah, I love that, and he's like even like with that little miniseries that they did during Spider Verse, the Scarlet Spiders, that
Yes.
little
Yeah, the 3-issue one. Yeah.
dude, he was like super heroic in that.
I know it was another alternate universe version of him, but he was like it was like having Ben back. It was so
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
dude. Oh my! And then they killed him again, man.
I know. I know. Like we can't even have one Ben, not even in the multiverse.
Oh my
Um,
god! I mean, but yeah. So then we get to the Beyond story,
hmm.
and he's there, and it's like, dude, he's gonna be Spider Man again?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, I was so psyched. Oh my god!
Yeah.
And I seen that new costume. I was like, oh yeah,
So awesome.
oh yeah, oh. I was like, I was in for it, dude. I was, yeah. I said, let's go. And then they did the whole memory thing, dude.
Oh.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I don't mind turning him into Chasm and adding some kind of element where it's like, oh, he's been corrupted by some power from limbo or hell that we don't understand or whatever. I just don't understand the memory wipe because I feel like there's been so many times in comics where characters have had their minds wiped or their brains switched into a villain's body or whatever. And even Dr. Octopus, it kind of taken over Peter Parker's body for a while. Like they still act like them,
Yeah.
like you aren't your memories per se. Like your memories help shape experience. Like they might help you go like, okay, well I've experienced these things, and this is how I dealt with these obstacles or these problems or this joy or this sadness, and they help kind of shape you from that angle. Take it from someone personally, like you can wake up one day with no memories, and I didn't want to just get out of that hospital bed and kill everybody because inside there wasn't a killer in us. So it's like, so to me, I understand this is fiction. It's, you're not supposed to really equate it one to one to reality and stuff. I totally get that, but I just think of all the things you could have done to Ben, his mind, everything. Erasing his memories to me was not the story to tell, because it's because the way they don't stick to it. They, like I said in this book, there's inconsistencies where he'll refer to Kane as a brother, and then he'll go, oh
Right.
well, and he'll go, oh well, I remember some things. It's like, but wait, why do you have selective memory? I thought your whole memory was wiped. So it's like, that's the other thing that drives me nuts. So I'm like, so if you have selective memory enough to know who Peter is and Kane is, then why are you fighting them? Like,
Exactly.
like, and they'll say like, oh, but I don't remember every little experience we've had together. I just know who they are. It's like, but your instinct wouldn't be to hate them. Like, there's so many things people understand about muscle memory and instinct, and Ben has good instincts. Like, so even without his memories, he would have them. I still feel. So this is just, that part is the hardest pill for me to swallow with this whole Chasm thing. You want to make him a villain, you want to make him Chasm, fine. Just have some villain or like Druig here. Someone went into his mind, controlled him, and then maybe Druig dies, but that control is still in his mind somehow, and he can't, control himself, and he's a bad guy or whatever. It's like, do something a little different, a little bit more interesting than he just has no memories, but he has selective memories, but then he doesn't have selective memories. I don't know. I'm going to ramble here, but I mean, I can't get over it. I really miss Ben, and I was hoping this series would bring us closer to the Ben that you and I like.
Right.
But it doesn't, and we'll get there with issue 4. But before we do that, what are your thoughts on that? And then I want to shift into Kane real quick before we get to issue 4.
As we had stated in previous videos, they had so many opportunities to either use Doctor Strange or
Yeah.
Madeline Pryor or Jean Grey
Yeah.
to get his memories back, dude.
100%.
Come on.
Xavier, like anyone, like, I mean, why wouldn't anyone help him in this time? Every hero on the X-Men almost has been brainwashed by a villain and forced to do things they don't want to do, or have had their memories tampered with, like Wolverine. You would think there'd be some empathy there for a guy that they're like, hey, this guy is a clone of Spider-Man, and during the 90s, and not the 90s to them, but during this time, we fought alongside this guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's even a comic book that we covered on the Venom vlog that had Ben Reilly in the Spider-Man costume with the X-Men fighting
Yeah.
Carnage and Mr. Sinister. So it's like there's a history there with these characters. Use that history to help Ben, even if it's not an easy road for Ben to go on. Just why not have him at least start that road and have some hero reach out and say, "Hey, I just want to help." Like, you know, I don't know. It's just there's so many opportunities there. So I'm with you, 100%, man. I'm with you.
Oh man, yeah. But yeah, so yeah, that could have been easily solved. I mean, I just feel like that they're choosing to dump on Ben. So
yeah, and they're dragging it out for no reason. Because even in this book, you have a villain who can take over his mind. They could have easily found a way for Ben to like have the willpower to grab Druig in his mind and say, "Take me to my good memories," you know, and then so that way Ben can see a glimpse of happiness, you know, and be like, "Okay, now I'm going to start on this path to go back to who I was," you know. And I just there's so many things you could do with Ben, and but what about Kane? Like, Kane he's pretty Kane-ish in this book for the most part.
yeah, well, the thing about him is ever since he became a hero, you know, he always in his mind he's always talking, you know, I shouldn't be doing this, you know, I'm not the hero, you know, I'm not who people think I am, you know, but still yet, you know, he does what the hero should do. He
Yeah,
knows what's good, he knows what's bad. He always ends up helping people, always. You
always.
know, what he does, he looks in the mirror and he sees Peter Parker. And Peter Parker, what Peter Parker did is he goes, "You're my brother."
Yeah,
Boom, there it is, right there.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Kane's been through a lot, and he's tried to kill Peter. He's tried to kill Ben. He's done some terrible stuff. He was a straight up villain in the Clone Saga. His redemption arc has been one of the most satisfying things to read in comics from Marvel in a long time, especially with Spider characters, because they actually did his redemption correctly. Like
yes,
Ben's is all over the place right now. It does not feel like even a redemption arc at all, because
right,
this book did not get us any closer to a redemption arc from Ben. He still makes all the wrong choices in this book. But Kane, like begrudgingly kicking and screaming, dragging with his nails on the ground, that guy was brought into herohood, and boy, does it suit him.
yeah,
But now
yeah,
he's starting to get that degeneration back a little bit.
yeah,
So he does see Peter Parker when he looks in the mirror, but he's also starting to get the flashes of villain Kane back as well. Um,
right,
but but like you said, he's had these experiences. That Scarlet Spider story you mentioned earlier, that Ben Reilly sacrificed himself so that Kane could live,
right.
and so that has also stuck with Kane as well. So he knows there's good still in Ben Reilly. He's just trying to get to it.
Do you remember back in the original Clone Saga, there for a while? That do you remember Kane? He was like super protective over Ben Riley. Do you remember that? For a short time there, he thought that Ben was the original,
Yes.
and he was like, "Oh my god," he wouldn't let anything happen to Ben.
Well, that's not. I mean, I don't know if I remember it that way. I remember he believed Ben could be the original, and he didn't want the original to ruin the life the clone who he thought was the clone, which was the original Peter Parker. He didn't want to ruin that. He was like, "Hey, no, let clone or not, let him have his life. Let him have his Mary Jane. Let him have. I remember a little bit of that, but then they got into the whole like the trial of Peter Parker, and things kind of started flipping a little bit, and so I don't know, but Kane at first, I remember he was just watching, he was watching Ben fight Venom. He was watching the Scryers. He was watching Peter, and he was just kind of observing. And then he got involved. But really, when it came to the trial of Peter Parker, that's where I think he turned himself in. He was just like, I actually don't want to hurt one of them. And maybe you're right. Maybe it was Ben. I can't remember, but he was like, I just don't want to hurt one of these guys. So,
Yeah.
And if here, he put his hand on the desk and burned the desk. He's like, there's the evidence. I'm the one who leaves the mark. It's not Peter Parker. It's me. And he let himself be arrested, and then he broke free later that night anyway. But he just did it to get the heat off of Peter Parker. So yeah, I mean, there was a little back and forth. I think he struggled. Kane in that Clone Saga, I feel like he was a villain, but he also had that responsibility element that just comes with being Peter Parker, right? And I think that conflicted with him at times. I think Kane is always meant to be a hero, and I think that's why it's been so fun watching him become one.
Yeah.
But Ben has not always been destined to be a villain. So that's why I'm so frustrated that he is one.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't make a good villain. He's kind of a mindless villain. I don't like him.
Well, given how Ben originally died, he died a hero. So
sure did.
So there's that.
Yeah.
Now, something I've always loved is how when Kane become a true hero, how it happened. It happened because of Eddie Brock. Do you remember?
No.
It's because of the anti-venom.
Remember? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, from Spider Island.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's right. He does. Mm-hmm. You're correct.
Yeah.
That is right. And that's when, and then Eddie sacrificed himself to save people in the city, but that also cured Ben's thing. I mean, yeah, you're right. Well, then also Kane, I think he during that like brand new day, I think he went up against the resurrected Kraven also, right?
Yeah.
And he died and got buried and came back as the other for a while. But then that's when the Spider Island thing kind of cleaned that up on him. Yeah. So yeah, you're right, man. That's true. Kind of Eddie Brock, man. I like that story. I remember when we covered that on the Venom blog. Spider Island I didn't remember it being that great of a story. And then when I reread it, I was like, dude, there's some cool stuff in here.
Dude. Oh my God.
Yeah.
When I originally read it, it was wild. But then when I reread it, I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. I hope we feel that way about this book one day, because I want to dive into issue 4 then real quick and talk about how this story concludes, and what we feel about it, because Ben and Janine, they kind of leave. She ends up going with Ben, so she makes the decision. All right, Kane's going to fight, save people. I'm going to go with Ben. I can't abandon him now. And plus, if he gets mind controlled again, I need to be there to help him, whatever. So they go and they find Mole Man, and he's got his kaiju. And then we can see another mask that Janine had that I've never knew she had.
No, I have to ask this because I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it T-Rex or is it Godzilla?
Dude, it's because he calls her a giant lizard, so I'm like, it's got to be a T-Rex. I think it was just like them going, "Hey, we're gonna put a giant Godzilla King Kong kaiju fight in this," and that's what it felt like, and it felt like it came out of nowhere too.
Yeah, really.
But Janine literally puts on a mask of let's say a Godzilla. Maybe for copyright reasons I can't say that, but she puts on a giant lizard mask and she grows into a kaiju size monster. Her powers are way under defined in a way. Like, I'm like, gosh, she can be anything, I guess. So that was funny because I was like, all right, I was caught off guard by the ghost thing, but this was on another level. I was just like,
I seen that and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Oh man, and we'll see it again later in the book because she comes back with it. But so she grows into the giant kaiju and fights the other one to stop Mole Man. And Ben, kind of goes and runs into Druig, and then Kane is left after he saves those people. He gets captured by the rat beast creature and brought to Druig. So that kind of brings us to like the first, like, that's the quarter of the book right there, I think. So yeah, what are your thoughts on all that craziness that happened? Because this book hits with the crazy stick right off the bat.
Oh my gosh. Well, the way that it all happens, it kind of, you're like, okay, which thing happened first?
Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those issues where I read this issue, by the way. Every other issue of this run I read twice and then skimmed through a third time to get some artwork. This one I think I read 3 or almost 4 full times because I'm like, what in the jumbled hell is happening? And this,
I read that. I read that. I read that first part, and I was like, wait. I was like, wait, which part happened first? I read it again. I was like, wait. I don't wait.
yeah, I'm like, wait, she becomes the kaiju now before Kane, or I thought Kane was first? Yeah. Yeah, this book is this last issue, and they cram so much in this last issue they can't even properly wrap up the story in some ways. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, so Kane, he gets captured. Rat Beast brings him to Druig, and then Kane talks to Druig, and then Druig takes control of Ben again, and Ben and Kane have their real big fight in this issue. And it's bloody, and there's energy axes used, and arms almost getting cut off, and heads almost getting cut open. I mean, it's a fight, that's for sure.
Well, they kind of pull a little bait and switch on you there too, because they make you think
that Kane is there. Yeah,
they make you think that Kane is possessed by
Druig. Right.
Yeah.
But Druig, I guess, couldn't possess him for some reason, and decided, well, that's okay. I already have Ben, so I'll possess Ben. But yeah, when he comes out of that tunnel, you're like, oh crap, he's got Kane. And then Kane is just talking like normal Kane. You're like, wait a minute. And then Ben shows up, and you're like, oh crap, Druig like took Ben back. And yeah, it was good the way they did that. And he made Ben, when he saw Kane, he didn't see Kane, he saw Druig.
Right.
So he was like, all right, this is how I'm gonna get rid of Kane. I'm gonna have Ben think that Kane is me. I'm gonna let Ben kill Kane, and then I'm gonna reveal myself, and I'll take control of Ben's mind again. And he also, speaking of dialogue, because I know we didn't talk a lot about that in this last one, but there's, like I said, there's so much story left to tell. They cram it all into the dialogue in this issue, where Druig just dumps out his motivation, if you want to call it that, and he's just like, oh yeah, every like so many years when the Eternals bore me, I like to come to Earth and whisper into the ear of a weak man and get him to start a war. And I get him to start a war or a riot or burn down a church or whatever. And you're like, okay. And I'm like, and that's an interesting concept, because that kind of makes Druig a little bit like the devil, which I like, where he's kind of like whispering in someone's ear who's just at a low point in their life and gets them to do like a shooting or something like that. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting, at least. But they dump it all on you in this like one page of full dialogue. And then you're like, oh, okay. And then they move on. And you're just like, oh, so that's his motivation the whole time, is he just gets bored and uses powers to mess with people. And it's like, but that could have been done in an interesting way and not just shoved all in one page of dialogue. Yeah.
I looked at it as, you were saying, like, how come he didn't do that with Kane? Is from what he said there, I think that was it, is he felt that Ben, with his issue, his mind issue, his memories, was weaker, and Kane wasn't weaker, and he couldn't do that to Kane.
Yeah, Kane would have been too much work for Druig to kind of power through. And Ben is such a clean slate. He's like, oh, well, why put in the effort, I guess.
Yeah.
So it shows you that Druig's also lazy. No work ethic from that guy. Because he also went after Mole Man, and that's an easy target to brainwash too.
Yeah.
So, but in this big fight that we get, like I said, Ben creates his energy axe again, and he goes and chops right into Kane.
Yeah.
It almost looked like it was going to take his arm off, but luckily Kane like held on to his wrist and stopped him, and then grabbed Ben and pulled him in, and had the other end of the axe, go right into Ben's brain, and like cut half his face, and that severed the connection with Druig. It made Druig a little like weaker, made him bleed, It made him all of a sudden get freaked out when he saw spiders in the sewer, and kind of run away from the battle. But that was just kind of neat that it was like, that was such a cool, like, you would see that in movies like Gladiator or like Spartacus the show, where it's like someone gets stabbed and then they grab someone and pull them into the sword.
Right,
It was kind of one of those moments, and I'm like,
right,
that just
right.
makes Kane so much more badass to me. That I'm like, that he's up there
Yeah.
on the level of like a Spartacus, fighter and stuff. Like,
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, no, Kane's awesome.
Dude, Kane's a badass dude.
He is, dude, and he did not
Badass.
care. That wound, that thing, he still went after that fight and saved people with his arm cut open. Show his, because we went right through his collarbone. I was like, God dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've dislocated a shoulder before, and that hurt. Kane probably laughs when he dislocates his shoulder. So so they had this big fight. I want to hear your thoughts though on the fight though. Like, please, like, what
Oh, it's knockout
it was,
drag out, man.
yeah,
It,
yeah.
oh man. Yeah. This power that Chasm has, I mean, it's wicked. He calls it his Chasm sense, but he's able
Yeah.
to actually physically use it though. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's wild. I mean, you know, that's I mean, if they can figure that out, that could be really cool.
I think so too. I don't mind him having powers that separate him from a typical Spider-Man. I definitely don't mind that. I would say in the age of, Miles Morales's, and Ghost Spiders, and Multiverse Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099. I mean, there's so many of them that are very similar, which is fine. I mean, I don't mind that either. Some of them have slightly different abilities, but having like this Chasm one, again, I'm not against the Chasm concept. I just wish he could still do it with his memories,
Yeah, yeah,
but I do like the power, and I'm curious to see where it goes from here. And he does make that joke, like, he's like, yeah, I call it Chasm sense. He goes, yeah, I got to come up with a better name for it. And I was hoping they would by the end of this book, but they don't. So did that fight though was cool. And then and it's, what I liked about it is in the last two issues, like, because I'm critical of this book, I don't feel like it's dialogue wise it's written very well, or even plotted out, or pacing. It's not that well done in my opinion, but it does deliver on the things that you kind of want as a Ben and Kane fan on some level. Like, I did want to see them fight
yeah,
because it's been long overdue, and I also think Kane does not approve of a lot of Ben's actions lately. And even though he was still trying to help Ben before they fought, he was trying to do the right thing and say, dude, I don't want to just punch your brains in. I want to hear from you. Tell me why you're doing this stuff. Why are you acting this way? And then only when Ben attacked did he defend himself. But both fights were great. I got to give them credit. I thought the art was great in those, and they let it breathe. They let the fights go on for like 3 or 4 pages, which
yeah.
makes you feel like you got your money's worth when you bought the book for that,
Right.
But it does end, and they have this great moment where the rat beast shows up, and then who shows up to squash that rat beast?
Kaiju Hallow's Eve.
That's right. KHE. Yeah, Janine stomps on it with her non-Godzilla foot and crushes it into a pulp, and then takes the mask off and shrinks down
Yeah.
to Hallow's Eve size. Because you're sitting there going, like, where's she been this whole issue? She was fighting Mo-Man and beating up the other kaijus.
I mean, it's cool. That's what 3 or 4 different new masks that she brought out. I mean,
just in the last 2 issues too.
Yeah.
Like, that's, yeah. So good on Steve Fox, at least, for coming up with those concepts.
Yeah, I mean,
because those were fun.
The dialogue wasn't that great, but
No.
I mean, the visuals were pretty damn good.
Bro, babe, I did not like the dialogue.
Bro, babe,
baby, bro. Look, yeah, but I love, like I was saying earlier, there's so much story left at the end of this that they cram, like, they're trying to cram it all in. So the city, by the way, is still being attacked by kaijus and monsters and Mo-Men and all that stuff. So we have to assume that that Hallows Eve actually did do the right thing, took a page from Kane's book earlier, and stopped the monsters and saved people as a kaiju. Like, we have to assume that. We don't get a moment that really shows it, but it would have been nice if we did get one page where it shows her kind of learn a little bit from Kane's example, and do the right thing, and she kind of feels okay about doing it, and it's like a secret she's going to hide from, Ben now, because she's like, hey, I did something heroic and I feel good about it. That could have been something interesting for her character, but they don't. They just kind of, she steps on the rat beast and we just assume she beat the other monster and stopped Mole Man. But then they look around and go, all right, well, the city's still being attacked. So Kane's like, let's go save people. And Ben's like, nah. And then him and Hallows Eve leave again. And I'm like, so what? And so they don't even show you really, like, Druid kind of slipped away after he saw that spider. So you don't, I guess you could just assume he just left from there. Then you have Kane looking out at the city with the monsters, like, all right, I'm going to go help out, but you don't see him help out. And the book just kind of wraps up. You go back to Kane's apartment and you find out his neighbors caught a vermin, which was kind of fun. And then he kind of sighs because he's had a long day. So they're like, hey, can you help us get rid of this, without reaching the authorities? And he sees the vermin. He's like, oh, crap. So he's like, I just went through and helped save the city. And now I got to bring this vermin back out there. So I did kind of like that, but then it just ends for, Ben and Hallows Eve. They're just like, what are we going to do? And he's like, whatever we want, and then the book just ends. And I'm like, oh God. So I don't know. I got to hear your thoughts on this, because I got so many.
Well, there at the end there, when it's just Kane left by himself to finish doing whatever, they hint at that, that eventually the Avengers came in and helped.
They do hint that other hero, because Ben's like, yeah, let the other heroes deal with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I guess.
Yeah. So there's that, and I totally, they could have easily, I mean, if this is a, like if they're trying to build Ben back up, they should have had him stay there and help.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the reason why he couldn't do that. I know he said, like, oh, because I'm just as wanted as any of the monsters that are out there. There's a line of dialogue about that. But I'm like, but the monsters were attacking. If you're helping, you think the Thing or Moon Knight, maybe Moon Knight, but you think one of them is going to stop helping people to punch your brains in if they see you helping people? Like, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if I buy that line from Ben. And if Ben doesn't have the memories to back up that statement, like, I don't know why he would think the world would just hunt him down. Like, and there is lines in this book, again, that just, they try to make this story feel bigger than it is. Because of course New York's getting attacked by these monsters, and that is a big deal, but they don't really show it. And they just have it said in dialogue where, like, I think one point Ben goes, man, this attack on New York is just as bad as the dark web, whatever, the limbo attack. And I'm like, but why say that if you're not going to show any of that?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of that? Why can't, for all I know, this is only happening over like a city block or two. It's like, I don't see it as like an invasion on New York City, but they keep saying that it is. But I'm like, yeah, but you're not showing that it is. And You're not showing the other heroes pop up. I'm sure Andrea, the artist, would have loved to squeeze in some cameos of other heroes popping up and stuff, but they don't. So that's what I mean about this last issue, just feeling like, whoop, like we got to get it all done and not really have anything have its moment or share anything or make it feel like a bigger part of the universe. So I'm also thinking of poor New York City, where I'm like, all right, so they've had the King in Black, they've had like Avenger attacks on New York, they've had this mole thing now. They've had the limbo thing with demons. They have zombie oats going on. Like, how does that city still have a population? Like, why would any normal person still live in New York City at this point?
How's there even any buildings?
No kidding. I mean, I understand, like, you can say, oh, Tony Stark will throw $1 billion at something and fix it or whatever. It's like, yeah, I guess. But I mean, you have to do, like, I mean, it's a lot of work. But I don't know. I just, it just felt like they were trying to make this story bigger than it was. And I'm like, but why? It's called Chasm, The Curse of Kane. That sounds so personal. So why have all these other elements? Why did you need Mole Man? Why did you need all these things? Why couldn't it have just been a story of a villain with mind control powers? Heck, it could have been Mysterio. You didn't even have to do mind control. Like, it could have been anything that ties into the Spider-Man lore better and told a real story with these two characters and still had fun doing it and have other villains show up. You could have had like, anything show up that wasn't like an attack on New York City. So I don't know. I just feel like I felt very empty after this book. And I felt it was filler really to me, because I'm like, well, even though you got some cool fights between Ben and Kane, you didn't really get a lot of good dialogue. Because I feel like T. Fox wasn't that great at writing it, but also there wasn't very good like moments with them to like advance or grow their characters in any way. And Ben ends this story the same way he began this story. And so does Hallow Eve, even though she did a heroic thing, it doesn't come back in and factor in at the last page.
Right.
And then Kane, even, he's just like, I came to look for my brother. He found Ben and didn't really do anything and then fight him begrudgingly, and then that's it. So these characters literally got zero growth. So I'm with you when we say, like, I'm glad to have this story because I like Ben and Kane, and in a world with other Spider people, it's just amazing that we got a miniseries for them. But to me, if I was Steve Fox, I would have been like, I would have looked at it that way and said, look, who knows if these guys will get another miniseries? We need to really do something cool with them in this one. And I don't feel like and even Nick Lowe as the editor, like they should have said, this is our chance. Maybe for the next 2 years, we may not even, if this book doesn't sell, we might not get another chance to write these guys for a while outside of the main Spider-Man book. So why not do something more interesting with them? And that's just my thoughts. I don't know. What about you?
I think that they had a chance to further their story.
They did.
They had the chance to really do something, because these two characters, I don't know if they think that these two characters don't have fans, but I mean, they are like way wrong.
Well, they know they have fans. They gave us this miniseries because of that reason.
Yeah, I mean, and them constantly shitting on Ben, man. I mean, come on, damn, dude. I mean,
well, it feels like Nick Lowe doesn't like it. I know it's not true because I've talked to that guy before, and he is very passionate about Spider-Man. I know people don't like to think that way about Nick because of how they feel about the Spider-Man monthly book and stuff. And I get it. And I totally get that. But I know that Nick is a very passionate Spider-Man fan, and it's his dream job to work on this book. That doesn't always equate to, a winning combination sometimes in a lot of people's eyes. But to me, I know he's a fan. So even from him, though, I'm like, I would have been like, hey, I'm the editor on this book. I can't believe we had enough fan outcry to actually get this book greenlit and made. So like, let's tell something that does advance these guys. So it just felt like the hardest working person on this book, which is the case in a lot of comics, was the artist. Yeah. And everyone else just kind of like, this was just a job to them, and it wasn't like a passionate, story. And it wasn't something that it was like anyone's dream book to work on, And I feel like if you're going to do a story about Kane and Chasm at this point, and Ben and Kane, you should find someone with at least a little bit more passion than just here to get a paycheck.
Yeah. From what I can tell, they're going to do something else. I don't know what that is. They're saying that all three of them are going to return again. I don't know if they're going to be together separately or whatever, but I mean, they need to figure this out. They need to do something with them. I mean, there could be so much done with these three characters, so much, and I mean, and even like even if they were just like side characters that showed up every once in a while in the Amazing Spider-Man title, that'd be great. I mean, at least they wouldn't be like constantly like shitting on them, like just, I mean, like let them come in, like help out, or let Chasm come in and be the villain, or let Kane come in and help out Peter. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
as far as the series goes, like I saw a lot of potential here, and although I'm still glad to have it versus not having it because I love these characters, this story didn't do anything to advance these characters. So it feels like filler, and it seems weird to charge people, $4 an issue for filler, like because there are fans of Ben and Kane who have been waiting patiently for years to get stories of these guys, and then when we do, they're not handled well, or they're Ben gets turned into a villain and mind wiped. It's like nothing goes our way. So why not, when you do a miniseries called Chasm Curse of Kane, why not put someone on that book who will tap into what fans want to see growth wise and character wise from these characters, and it's a real shame. I mean, Steve Fox may be a fan of these guys. It just doesn't come across in the writing, in my opinion. Like it feels like, and I know everyone comes into comics at different, it's like when you work a regular job and you work at an office, there's going to be people who are really good at it, people who are kind of okay at it, and then the people that aren't so good, because everyone comes in at different skill sets, right? So I don't know Steve Fox. I'm not trying to personally slam the guy or anything like that. I'm just saying, for me personally, I didn't really like his writing style, and I don't know, maybe he's just coming into comics and he's newer at dialogue and things, and he'll, like any art, you'll get better over time. But again, that's just better from my point of view. Other people may love this book and the writing in it, but I just feel like I didn't come across through his dialogue and writing that he liked these characters. so that's why, and that's just a personal feeling, but I don't. So what's your final rating on this 4 issues? What would you say is, out of 5, like 1 to 5, what would you say you'd give this book?
If it had been any other characters, it would have been like a 1.
Yeah, no kidding.
A 1 or 2.
Why are we so forgiving? Yeah, I get it.
But since it is Ben and Kane,
yeah,
I'm going to give it a 3.
You suck. You're the same. Yeah. I mean, I'm kidding, obviously, but yeah, you're same thing. If I don't know what it is, why I'm so forgiving. If this was any other 2 characters, I would have been like 1. Yeah. But I'm gonna give it a 2.5. I'm right in the middle on it, because I will say the artist, especially in the last 2 issues, did a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah, she did really good, and I also have to say, some of the covers were absolutely excellent.
Yeah, the covers and some of the variant covers were amazing. Them using Bagley's artwork for the title page was really good. I like that they did that, and because it's always cool to see like a Bagley, Ben Reilly, and Kane and stuff. So yeah, it was cool. I mean, yeah, I agree. I'm right in the middle there with you, though. I'm right under you at a 2.5. So yeah, if you guys out there, if you're fans like us, you may forgive parts of the story. You're still gonna have your criticisms, maybe, or you may love it. Whatever you feel, whether it's the same as us, different than us, or whatever, let us know down below, because I'd love to see other points of view on this, even from non-hardcore fans. If you just read this because you were interested and you never knew too much about these characters, I'd love to hear an outsider's point of view, someone who doesn't know Ben and Kane that well. I'd love to hear what they think of this story. But I'm with you on Hallows Eve. I was kind of iffy on her at first. You are seeing her. I don't know if you're picking up Blood Hunters, but it's a mini series and she's part of the team. So if you're a fan, it's like her, Vampire Miles Morales, and like a couple other people, Elsa Bloodstone, I think. So if you're a fan of kind of the supernatural side of Marvel, there's a book out there called Blood Hunters, and she is part of it. So there's more Hallows Eve out there. Hopefully we don't have to wait too long to see more Kane and Ben. But one thing I will say, and whenever they come back, even if I have to retitle the show, like I'll come up with a new thing where it's clone talk or something like that, and you and I will just come back, and I don't ever want to stop following the adventures of these 2 knuckleheads, and I want to have you on board for any of them that you can make it to. So yeah, let's stay in touch with that. I don't, even if the Venom vlog ends, I still want to follow Ben and Kane into oblivion with you.
Oh yeah, definitely.